Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our now fifth official podcast of the Culmination of Randomness. We're your hosts, AeonWraith.
And I'm Red Shadow. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning as Wraith and I discuss whatever happens to cross our minds.
Today, we're going to discuss, in today's episode of the Culmination Podcast, we're going to discuss movies that do not grow old. Movies that no matter how many times you watch them, they are always great. You know, you could watch them 1,000 times and then watch them 1,000 more.
For me,
So, did you want to get it started?
sure. I'm gonna start off by saying that for me, this is a highly opinionated list because these are movies that I can personally watch, but I know my brother and some of my family members think that these movies are completely ridiculous and will not watch them over and over and over again. I'll start with two. I have a list of six. I'll start with two real quick. The first one is one that it might be on your list. I'm not sure, but I know that it would be on my brother's list as well, and that is Grandma's Boy. I can watch that movie over and over and over again, and yes, it has a bunch of simple elements to it, but it's just so funny, and it's so funny every time I watch it.
Sorry, I don't know. I think I have something going wrong with my connection. I actually cut out there for a second. I didn't hear the movie.
Oh, it's Grandma's Boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's something going wrong with my connection right now. But if there's any more issues, we may restart. But okay. So keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's a movie that's both on mine and Demon's list, and it's just like a movie. Like, not everybody gets it. Not everybody has a fun time watching that movie. But it's a simple movie, and the elements in it are really funny and relatable. And there's just so many little quirks in the movie that just make it funny to watch just over and over and over again. Another one, or my second one, and this one, Demon hates these movies. Like, he cannot, he doesn't even want to watch it.
Oh, I know which ones you're talking about. Yeah, I know which ones you're talking about.
He didn't
Fast
even
and
like
Furious.
the first, no, Tremors.
No.
I was talking
He
about
doesn't
Tremors.
like Tremors?
He
How
doesn't
does he not
like
like
Tremors.
Tremors?
He doesn't get it. He's just like, they're big worms. Like, what's good about that? I love the movie. I love all of them really. Now some of the later ones are a little because it's like they kind of just ran out of material and they're just kind of just still making them.
Yeah.
But at the same point, even the newer ones have their moments. You know, kind of their flashback to the origins. You know, I've been watching. I've probably seen the first one and the second one more than I've seen any other of the Tremor series. But even the third and the fourth one were good. The third one, you know, and the fourth one was like the flashback to the original. And while
the 1800s, yeah.
the only problem I have with the flashback is that it supposedly happens in the past, and it's a little bit different evolution, right, than in the first three movies. But the thing about it is they're saying in the first three movies that these things have been the exact same since the beginning of time. And it goes back in, it goes back into that whole thing where people lose sight of what they've already told when they tell a prequel. You know, it's something we've talked about with multiple things. It's something me and Demon have talked about, especially with the Harry Potter franchise. And I understand that the Fantastic Beasts are just movies and they're not like the books. But there's things in those movies that were not even mentioned in the books, but they supposedly happen earlier, in an earlier time period, and you're like, how does nobody know about these things?
Yeah, either innocuous details that will completely ruin something you said before, or I know one of the biggest contenders is the fact that Professor McGonagall is in Fantastic Beasts when she's not even supposed to have been born yet.
Is she really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, may have but I may have glanced over.
There's like a small scene, I think, in the second one where she shows up.
That's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's like those continuity errors, right? Did you want to go ahead and do a couple of yours?
I'm not sure yet. I don't know if I want to keep talking about Tremors or I want to talk about a different movie.
Oh, we can keep talking about Tremors. I love Tremors. In fact, I just watched the first one again, not last night, but the night before last. Yeah, I love the Tremors movies, and I actually so here recently with movies that I really love, I've been rebuying them through Amazon. And when I watch Amazon movies here lately, I've been laying in my bed and I AirPlay them to my Apple TV from my iPad. And while I'm watching the movie on the TV, I can read the trivia, like the X-ray trivia stuff on my iPad while I'm watching the movie. And I never could do that before because you had to read it on the screen, and I don't like it on the screen because it bugs me because I can't watch my movie if I'm reading on the screen. And like I can, but it takes away from the movie. So I'm reading it on the tablet, and it was interesting to me that one of the trivia that I read for Tremors, the original one, is that originally, upon being sent to the board that gives the rating, it was given an R rating for 22 or 23 F-bombs. Okay? And you're thinking to yourself, there's not that many F-bombs in that movie. And there isn't, because they went back over it and dubbed over all the F-bombs and knocked it from 22 or 23 to 2.
Yeah.
Okay? And what's funny is when I read that, now while I can't pick out all of them, I do know of one, and that's whenever he calls them mother humpers.
Yeah.
Because it stands out. It's like the cadence of his sentence changes at the end. It's like it wasn't said then. It's like it was added in. But I just thought that was really, really interesting. Another interesting trivia fact that I read about it was in box offices, it absolutely tanked. Like when it was released in theaters.
It is and I'll be honest, most of these movies that I love, I would say for the most part are cult followings. Like they weren't like super successful.
Right.
But I mean, like after the fact, they were very much well loved.
Right. And I assume that also includes the Gamers movies for you.
Because then, like, I'm gonna talk about the movie Galaxy Quest just for a second before we go back to Tremors. Because of what you talked about, where they went and dubbed over a line to make it not R-rated. It initially was R-rated, and then they went back and they took out all of the swear words. But there's a part in the movie where she, like, one of the characters sees that she has to go through these. They call them the chompers in the movie. They're essentially like hydraulic presses, just closing, and you have to walk through them as they're closing. And when someone tells her she has to walk through that, she says, "Well, screw that," but you can very clearly see that she said "fuck." And it's one of those things that like everybody everybody laughs at it, but everybody kind of accepts it because they did that to get the rating.
Right.
But it's one of those things that, sometimes a movie can be made better by kind of changing, the rating or the language, because it makes it more family friendly or inclusive, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, think of it in the opposite. With going with a higher rating. When was it? Which one was it? Was it Logan? Was it Logan that was the first R-rated? Or was it Deadpool that was the first R-rated?
Well, okay, so it was Deadpool that was the first R-rated, but Logan was the first R-rated X-Men.
My thing, regardless of it, right? With the culture that we have now and the type of stories that those are, it makes way more sense for those particular like superheroes or anti-heroes to be R-rated. Because of the way that their powers work and the way that their ferocity and stuff like that, it just makes more sense to me, right? Their superpowers are not innately in their personalities, really. Both of them, either one of them, Wolverine or Deadpool, their personalities really aren't family friendly.
No,
I mean, not even in the comics was Wolverine friendly. You know, I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, right? Some of the other people and their powers, it makes so much more sense to make it a family-friendly movie because kids are watching the movies and they want to enjoy it just as much as their parents do. And how are they ever going to get introduced to those things if you don't kind of ease them into it?
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll go back to the caveat about working within the rating system on technicality levels, right? So changing the language used to get a lower rating is okay, but when you take out pivotal plot points that are character defining traits, that I'm not so on board with.
Right.
Because you're right, Logan, Wolverine totally is an R-rated movie, and he's an R-rated hero. And that's why everybody loved Logan, right? Because it was short, but you had Berserker Rage in there.
Yeah.
Where he's just tearing stuff up. And you have some heroes that are a bit more kid friendly. I mean, you also have the different eras, at least in DC, the golden era, the silver era. Where sometimes they're more family friendly, sometimes they were much darker.
Right. Well, I mean, if you had a superpower like I can explode people's heads, well, a weird power, but you can't put that in a family-friendly movie. Not without changing something about the ability. You know what I mean?
I can just see a cartoon anime where it's he just does it, and then you see that puff of smoke above the head.
Yeah. Not this blood and viscera just everywhere.
Yeah. Just makes you stupid for a bit.
Yeah. Or it doesn't actually explode their head. It just kind of destroys their mind and they kind of just slump over and they're perfectly fine. But, it's stuff like that. You can't really, you can't family friendly that. Mm-hmm. But, if your ability is to be able to, sort of like Mystique, she can transform herself into anything, right? Slap some clothes on, she can turn herself into any human, right? Slap some clothes on them, and they're good to go. That's family friendly. There's nothing wrong with that. She's shape-shifting. She's clothed. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They missed out so hard by not making a spy thriller Mystique movie.
Oh,
come on. Why not do that?
You're right. Could you imagine the level of infiltration that she could accomplish?
Mm-hmm. A spy thriller movie where she's the antagonist, because it'd be like watching a Marvel version of The Thing. You have no idea who the enemy is. It could be anyone in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so great. But unfortunately, X-Men doesn't have the greatest track record.
Yeah, well,
they have some great moments, but the cinematic universe doesn't, or the cinematic stuff doesn't have the greatest.
You got to think, at the end of the day, anybody that makes a movie anywhere is really trying to make money, ultimately. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've got to spend money to make the movie, and then they've got to make money to make other movies and to make a living. And I understand that to a certain degree. But just think about some of the movies. This is not on my list, but one in my opinion, one person that really just puts out great movies regardless of he just doesn't care whether they're going to do good or not is Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of movies, he's produced a lot of movies, and a lot of his movies are really good. But going into the movie, he's I want to make a movie that's good versus I want to make a movie that's going to make money.
You know what? You added a movie to my list.
Oh,
I
did
didn't think
I?
about it. Pitch Black.
Oh, yeah.
I can watch that again and again. I love Pitch Black.
Pitch Black to me, I can watch it again and again, but it kind of gnaws on me because like there's just to me it's not as fulfilling as like the second and third one.
Oh, see,
I
I'm the
can
opposite.
I
I
can
love the
watch the
first one.
third one over and over and over and over. Like I've seen it like a dozen times in the last month.
Mm,
But like the first one, like to me it's more about character development in the first
mhm.
one, but
Yeah.
it's too. It just seems like everything's too nuanced, right? You have the guy that keeps getting drunk. You've got the guy that's on the drugs. You got the guys that
Yeah.
don't believe that he is as badass as everybody says he is. Like he's a convicted murderer. Like they want him arrested.
Yeah.
They're putting bounties on his head. Like this guy is a wanted man. Like fear him. And they're
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, what's he going to do? Kill us?" Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And then whenever he finally, like gets captured or whatever, he's like, "It's not me you need to fear." And everybody's like, "Oh, you're just talking nonsense." And then like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, you need to save us." It's
Yeah.
just a little too nuanced. Don't get me wrong. Great movie. Great
Yeah.
movie. In fact, one of my favorite lines from all time is in Pitch Black. "What do you see? Looks clear." Guy goes to start walking.
Yeah.
Monster comes out. "I thought you said it was clear." "It
I
looked
said
clear."
looks clear.
"Well, how does it look now?" "Looks clear."
Looks clear.
That's one of my favorite lines of all time from any movie. I quote that probably at least once a month, if not once every couple of weeks. In fact,
What?
me and
Yeah.
Demon were standing in the kitchen the other day, and we said it in the kitchen.
Uh, One of my most quotable that like my brother and I will toss back and forth is from Tremors actually, and it's I feel I was denied critical
Critical need to
to
know information.
information.
They're pre-Cambrian life forms, Bert. There wasn't a whole lot of information to gather.
Because it's just one of those things like movies that you can watch over and over again. It's not that they're different from like Oscar-winning movies, right? I would say the main difference is that rather than being built around theme or something like that, it's just built to be fun.
Right. Well, and
Um,
movies like this, especially like on a personal level, they either because your list is a little bit different from my list, and my list would be a little bit different from
mhm.
Demons, and everybody's list of movies that they love is going to be a little bit different than somebody else's because either A, there's something in the movie that you relate to,
Yeah.
or B, it just kind of strikes a chord with you personally. Like I can see myself in this movie, or I can see myself in these series of events, or I would like to see myself in a series of these events. Although I don't really want to fight giant earthworms, or
No.
I really don't want to do
But I don't
that.
know.
But
Firing a 50 BMG would be nice.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually just added another movie to my list, and I didn't even realize that I was adding another movie to my list. What's funny is it's not even anywhere on the spectrum of any of the other movies on my list.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because all of these are like action movies and like funny, like
Mhm.
manly type of movies. But like, I love like the Legally Blonde movies. Like, there's
Oh yeah,
two
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
them. I love those movies. Like, I don't know what it is, but I can just like watch them over and over and over again. They're just so like funny.
There's the movie for me that it doesn't necessarily fit, I guess, because you're talking about these manly action movies, right?
Yeah.
Christopher Robin is a movie that I can watch over and over again.
I don't know that I've ever seen that
Which
movie.
was Christopher Robin's the live action Winnie the Pooh movie.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
And like I went into it thinking, it's just going to be another kind of cash grab sort of thing, like I've seen with all these other movies. I really enjoy that movie. Like every time I watch it, I just feel good. Like I walk away from the movie with a smile. My day's just a little brighter.
I wouldn't put it on
Um,
my list of movies to rewatch, but one movie that I thought was going to be awful that actually was pretty good was the new Power Rangers movie that they did a few years ago.
I still haven't seen it.
What it's called something Power Rangers.
Mighty Morphin.
No, it's got like a guy's name. It's like the guy that created them. It's something Power Rangers.
Oh,
I don't know who created it, but anyway, like I put it off and put it off, like because some of my coworkers went and watched it in theaters, and I'm like, man, like I liked a few of the Power Rangers growing up, but to me they got too, like when I was growing up they were okay, but as I got older, like it kind of lost its like nostalgia or its appeal.
Yeah.
Like I tried to rewatch Beetleborgs as an adult.
Oh God.
I couldn't get past like the first episode. Like I really tried. I think I might have made it to past the first one and got into the second one, and like I was done. Like I was like, this is not what I remember. Like I remembered it being awesome, and this is just whack.
Well, that's you got to keep in mind when we were growing up. In the early '90s, that's what awesome was at the time. It was whack. That was what people said. That's whack, yo.
I guess.
But yeah, like if you go and watch some movies aimed at kids in those periods of times, they're very strange. Like
Yeah.
you even have the Power Rangers Ooze movie, right?
That's
really weird. Oh, have you not seen that movie?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's good, but it's weird.
Well, jumping back on our list, I've got four more on my list that we haven't talked about. One of them we've talked about on a previous podcast, and that's the Die Hard movies. Like,
Okay.
it doesn't matter what time of year it is. Like, I can always sit down and watch the Die Hard movies, especially 1, 2, and 4. I know you said I think your favorite is 3.
Yeah, I really like 3.
With
Samuel Jackson.
Here you go. I knew his
And
name.
Jeremy Irons.
I couldn't get it out. But I just I can watch the fourth one back to back to back. Like I don't even have to watch another movie. I can just watch that one over and over and over again. Like, and I can do the same thing with the first one. The second one's really good. The third one's good, but I don't like it as much as I like the other ones. And probably because it's just so much. There's so much downtime in between, like they keep going from quest to quest to quest, doing the running for this and the running for that and the running for that. It just seems like the third one it seemed like it could have been shorter. Like it just seemed like they just kept dragging it out. Like it's predictable, you know how it's going to end, but it's like it just keeps dragging it out further and further and further.
I just liked the interactions between Samuel L. Jackson's character and
Bruce
Willis's character. Because, their interaction, what are we going to do, Jesus?
Why do you keep calling me Jesus?
That guy, he said your name was Jesus. No, he said, hey, Zeus. My name is Zeus.
It's really funny right after that. He's like, my name is Zeus. Zeus? Yeah, Zeus, father of Apollo. Don't mess with me. I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Zeus. That's probably one of my that's probably my top 10 favorite lines out of movies is don't mess with me. I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Because Samuel L. Jackson, just the way he says it is just so funny.
Yeah. Another movie that I really I watch a lot. Is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh yeah. It is a good movie.
I think I've shown it to you once. You don't like it as much as I do.
I've seen it. I've seen it five times, I think. Well, because you showed it to me once, and then I believe it did a stint on Netflix or Hulu, and I watched it like 4 more times.
Yeah,
it's a good movie. But it's not one. It doesn't make my rewatch a million times list.
It does for me. I don't know. I guess I just like the whole, flipping the trope aspect. the fact that the scary hillbillies are actually little wussies, and they're
Yeah.
just like, and I like watching it, you know, and so I do it quite often, and there's I can watch it like half paying attention. It's one of
Mhm.
those movies that I'll put on while I'm doing something else as well.
Right.
Um, and then a movie that apparently I heard didn't do so well, but it's one of those movies that I really enjoy was, I don't know if you've heard of it, Valiant.
No, I've never heard of it.
Valiant is an animated movie from the early 2000s, about a pigeon that joins the Royal Pigeon Air Service
Hmm.
during World War II. And so he's a country pigeon. He goes into London, the city, to sign up for the army, and it's just like an army movie except with pigeons, and it's just cute, and I like it.
No, I've never heard of it. I may check it out and see if I can find it on Amazon. Watch it. Um, One of the movies that's on my list, and it might be on your list because I know we've talked about it before, but not on stream, and that's the Mummy
Mm.
movies.
The Mummy is on my list. Yes, it's
I
top of my
I
list. I just rewatched it last week.
I love the movies, the Mummy movies. It's Brandon Fraser, right?
Yeah.
I love the first and the second one. To me, were amazing. In the
Hmm.
third one, there's a third one, right? Is there four? There are four
Yeah.
of them
No,
total.
there's three. Three. There's a
Three.
fourth one, but it's not with Brendan
It's
Fraser.
not.
It's
It's
Tom
yeah.
Cruise.
It's somebody else. Which is the one? Which one's the one where they're it's like set later on and it's got the ice. Brandon
That's the
Fraser's in
third
that
one.
one, right?
Third one's like in, yeah, that one's in like China or
Like
whatever.
the Dragon Emperor or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one wasn't as good to
No.
me. Um, but I really, really loved the first one. The first one's probably my favorite, and the second one is really good as well. Like I love rewatching those movies, because they've got humor in them, they've got action in them,
Hmm.
they got a little bit of suspense. Like I don't know how many times I've seen that movie, and I still kind of get freaked out when that scarab beetle goes in that dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
Well, I
like
mean,
I've
it's just unnerving.
It
It's just
is. It really
unnerving.
is. Like I've seen that movie like 1,000 times, and like every time I see that, I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. Like rub my body, rub my skin, like look around on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't know what that scene was very well done. If they were trying to get
Hmm.
people unnerved.
Yeah. Because and then like later in the movie they call back to it, right?
Hmm.
Where or not even much later, but like right after that character dies, they have the brother reaching into his bag that he had put the scarabs in,
Yeah.
and you have the suspension music in the background, and then he like goes ah, and you're like oh no, and then he pulls out a broken bottle, and it's like oh
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah. So the Mummy movies are definitely on my list of rewatchability, especially the first two.
hmm
I can't say that I've ever seen the third one a second time. I watched it in IMAX theater in Branson on oh crap, that was 7 or 8 years ago, give or take, maybe
hmm.
9, maybe 10.
I can't recall when it came out.
I don't know when it came out. I just remember that I was in Branson. I was with my ex and my dad and a couple other people, and we all went to the IMAX theater in Branson and watched it. Because to be honest, I didn't even know it was a Mummy movie. Like when
Oh
we
wow.
like when we were going to watch it, it wasn't called The Mummy something something Dragon Emperor. It was just called like The Return of the Dragon Emperor or something like that. That's what they had on their billboard. And so like we're
Oh
we're going in, and we buy the tickets and like up there at the IMAX in Branson, like it's just like there really wasn't any movie posters or anything because it's
hmm
like the IMAX is in a place with like a little outlet mall like type of thing. So they
yeah
didn't really have any posters, and we walk up to the counter, and up on the wall it says, the Dragon Emperor or whatever. So we get it, and
walking down through, and we go down and we get in the theater and we're sitting down and we watch the previews, and then the movie starts and it's like not even like 2 or 3 minutes in, you start seeing like characters from the other movies, and you're like, I'm like looking around, I'm like, is this a Mummy movie? I pull my phone out and turn the brightness all the way down, and I Google it real quick, and I'm like, oh shit, it is a Mummy movie.
But let's be honest, it wasn't a Mummy movie.
No, not really. But it was still good enough. Like, I've never seen it a second time, but like I was just like, this is kind of cool. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't really. It didn't have the same vibe.
No. There's several things I quote a lot from The Mummy, and I don't even mean to. Like, I don't realize I quote it until after I've said it.
Until after you've said it, yeah.
The biggest one is patience is a virtue, and then not right now it isn't. Like, I just do that so often for some reason. Every time someone says patience is a virtue,
not right now,
I automatically think, not right now it isn't.
The next two and the last two on my list, they both made the list with stipulations. I guess you could say they're runners up. They're both movies that I watch quite often, but only in certain like moods. One of them is Twister.
Okay, yeah.
I really, really liked that movie. It was a movie that really scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, because the very first time I ever watched this movie, I was probably 4 or 5. I don't even think Nick was alive when I watched this movie. I'm not sure when it came out, so I can't tell you exactly how old I was. But it had just come out. Like, we're talking, it had just come out on VHS. And my grandma brought it over. And, like, my grandma was really big into movies like that. And, I say my grandma, she wasn't really that old at the time. Like, I was 5, and she was probably in her late 40s, early 50s. You know, like, so she wasn't that old. When you think grandma, you're like instinctively, I thought of her now, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But now that I'm thinking about it, you know, she wasn't that old, because when I was 4 or 5, my mom was only 24, 25 years old, because she had me when she was 19. You know? So, anyway, so we're watching this movie in a trailer at night while it's storming. And I literally, that movie messed me up. Like, no joke, it messed me up. Like, literally, until I was about 14 years old, anytime a thunderstorm happened, I was deadly afraid that there was a tornado coming for me, my house, and I was going to die. Like, I would get so worked up. Anytime it didn't even have to be like a bad thunderstorm. It could just be like a thunderstorm with thunder and lightning. And I would work myself so much that I would make myself throw up. Like, I would work myself up until I threw up. It was ridiculous.
I need to see when that movie came out. But I grew up in Illinois, where we live right now, tornadoes are not very common. You'll get the occasional tornado warning, but that's about it. You know, the Midwest for America, you know, the plains and stuff have, just because it's a lot of flat land, has a lot more tornadoes, and so I grew up with tornadoes.
Yeah.
And I grew up 1996. Yeah. So the first time I saw this, I was still in Illinois. I actually looked forward to tornadoes, which is silly. But, you know, you got to think at the time, you know, 4 or 5, right? So, as what my little brain could comprehend, when there was a tornado, my whole family went to a little room. We brought snacks, drinks, and games, and we just hung out for a few hours.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, to me, that was a good time.
Right.
And it's not until you get older and like, oh no, yeah, tornadoes are terrifying just because of their destructive nature.
Yeah.
But, you know, so when I first saw the movie Twister, you know, I wasn't like very scary or anything. I just was like, hey, fun movie. But
Yeah.
certainly, tornadoes are no joke.
No. No,
They're one of
they're
the
not.
most destructive things on the planet.
Yeah, I was looking it up real quick. It came out on VHS on October 1st, 1996. So I would have
Hmm.
been turning 5 that year. I would have been 4. I would have been 4 or 5 when I watched it, cuz
Hmm.
she bought it the day it came out in stores on VHS. But there
Hmm.
could be some stipulation because it came out on October 1st, but it might not have come here locally until a few days later. And we
Right.
watched it, and I was born in December of 91, so I would have been about 4, or because I would have turned 5 that December.
Hmm.
And man, it really did mess me up. The other one
Man,
on my list. Oh, go ahead.
this kind of is jumping away from our topic, but a movie that messed me up
Uh huh.
for like a decade was Night of the Living Dead. Uh,
Okay.
at the time, I was 4. Yeah, I was 4 years old, and my stepfather decided to rent the movie. And
Mhm.
this is the old one, not the remake. Uh, and so he made us have a family night where we all watched it together. And anytime I got scared and put the blanket over my eyes, he would rip it down and yell at me to watch it.
Hmm.
Needless to say, this was not a great man. That's why he's no longer in my life. Uh, but because of that, I had a perpetual fear of zombies for the next 10 to 12 years. Anytime anything zombie like would just make me afraid.
Hmm.
Um, and it wasn't until I watched one of my older brothers start playing Resident Evil that I started to kind of come out of that fear. But yeah, so like, I mean, you do need to be careful about which movies you show to little ones,
Yeah.
uh, because they can have a more lasting effect than you're thinking.
Right.
Or if there is something in there, explain it to them pretty well. You know, that's why they say parental guidance, right? You really need to know for your particular child, is this movie appropriate?
Yeah, that's why I always, I have a son. He's 8 now. But I've always been very careful about what movies he watches and everything like that. Not in a sense sheltering him, but I make sure that he understands that you understand that this is not real. Like this cannot happen, at least not for any, length of time. You know,
Hmm.
we let him watch Jurassic Park, and he was like, "Oh, this is real," and I'm like, "No, no, it's not real. The people in the movie are real." I said the dinosaurs are not real. They are computer generated or animatronic, depending on
Hmm.
which Jurassic Park you're watching. And I told him, I said, right now, science cannot do that. I said, maybe one day it might be real, but right now, as far as I am aware, it's not real. Like
Hmm.
we're not there yet. But who's to say in another 50 or 100 years people won't try that and they'll be like, "You remember that movie? It foretold." She's gonna be that one random guy in the background. Has got this beard down to his waist,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be like holding up a. He's like, "Jurassic Park predicted this," and
I mean,
everybody's gonna be
it's funny.
like, "What are you even talking about?"
It reminds me of one of the papers you wrote in high school
Oh yeah.
on the book for Jurassic Park, I think.
No,
And
no, it was on
you wrote it on the
cloning.
movie.
No, it was
Oh, it
on
was on cloning.
cloning, and
Okay,
she
yeah.
was like, you can't quote fictional stuff on a paper about cloning.
Yeah, but
But the thing about it is I didn't actually quote anything that was not scientific evidence because a
yeah,
lot of the stuff that I did, while I made some references to the movie, like they did research for the movie to make the movie. Like I did my quotes on the research that they did, not the
right.
actual movie. She just got it confused. She thought I was quoting from the movie, but she didn't even look at the like I had bibliography cards and everything that stated where I pulled the research from,
Hmm.
and every single one of those was an org site or a government site where Universal Studios had actually gone. I think it was Universal Studios had actually gone and got this information from those sites to put into their movie. I was quoting the original, not them.
But I'll be honest, like that paper would have been fine in a college setting, simply because like what you're doing there, like when you're talking about Jurassic Park, it's not like you're using it as evidence. You're using it as a connector. You're like saying, okay, you know, you're getting it to get your audience's mind to follow you what you're saying.
Right.
And
I think that teacher was just so the thing about that teacher, we'll go off on a little tangent since this is the culmination of randomness. So that particular teacher, right? Yeah. We had to choose a novel from a list that she gave us. Okay. I had the list in my backpack, and I have the list, or I probably still have the list somewhere, but she gave us a list of 50 novels, and on this list was a book called The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Okay?
Yeah.
I read that book, did a paper on that book. She wrote at the top of my paper, I gave you, she gave me like a D. She was like, I would have given you 1 letter grade higher if you had chose a book from the list. So I literally pull the list out of my backpack, look at it, see that the book is still on the list, underline it, take it up to her, and I'm like, it is on the list. And she looks at it and she goes, that's not the list. It literally says at the top of the paper, this is the list of novels for you to choose to write your essay on.
She was probably copying and pasting, and she didn't put the right book. I know what book she meant to put. She meant to put The Heart of Darkness, which is a very different book than the asexual reproduction of the strange aliens in The Left Hand of Darkness.
The Left Hand of Darkness was messed up. To be honest with you, that book was so hard to follow, I couldn't even really keep up with what I was reading.
Yeah.
It was all over the place.
Yeah, no, she meant to put The Heart of Darkness, but she put The Left Hand of Darkness.
But anyway, it was there.
She never wanted to own up to her mistakes.
It was right there. Like, I was like, look. It even had the author. Is The Heart of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin? Mm-hmm.
Well, do you remember when we had to do that, we had to make a mock play based on Hamlet?
You mean the book we didn't read? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, she gave us a D because she said I never turned in the script.
Yeah.
I turned it in physically 3 times, and I emailed it to her twice.
I think I turned it in once too. That was the one where we did. That was the one where we did that messed up
toys.
The Dragon Ball Z toys.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
And I mean, like,
scene. Wham. I still remember Ryan.
People just can't own up to their mistakes.
Yeah.
And it does make people around them angry. I mean, we're still talking and kind of venting about this 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just so annoying that we had to go to summer school because she kept losing people's paperwork, like losing their homework and stuff like that. And what was so funny about that is I never went to summer school except for that one time. In all of my high school career, I made decent grades except for that one class. And 90% of our summer school class was all from that same teacher.
Yeah.
In fact, like, the summer school teacher was like, why are you even here?
Yeah.
And we were like, you tell us.
Yeah, because we got a straight A in that summer school.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even struggle. It was easy.
Easy. Like, everything we did for that particular teacher. And like, what's so funny is she was in so much trouble with the school already. You would think that she would have been, like, a little more, like, trying to keep her job.
Yeah.
You know, that was the same teacher that they found, explicit photos on a school property camera.
Yeah, I remember that.
Messed up.
And I think if I'm remembering, that's the same teacher that brought a whole bunch of like Playboy magazines.
It's possible.
To a book drop off. like a book donation.
You know that there were a lot of rumors that she was sleeping with a couple of the students? I don't know if those rumors had merit or not.
But either way, I mean, not the best teacher.
Awful teacher. Um, there's one more movie on my list. Did you want to talk about any other movies that are on your list?
Yeah, you know what? I'll talk about the movie Stardust.
Okay.
I have okay. I've read the first third of the book it's based on,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say if you're a fan of the book, you'll probably hate the movie because it's one of those they're not even remotely the same.
Right.
Just with like different characters and everything like that. But this is one of those times where there's an adaptation of a book, and I much prefer the movie. Because Stardust, the way it's shot, is just a fun movie. Like you have the quest that he's going on, but at the same time, you have the ghost of these princes that keep dying, just expositing like commentary, and it's just a fun watch. And it's a fantastical story that has a pretty good ending. You know, not an ending that's like, well, we had to kill 10,000 people, or our country's in a civil war sort of thing. There wasn't much suffering. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I watched that movie a lot. I like the soundtrack. I like the characters. I love Robert De Niro in that movie. And I did try to read the book, but it was so slow.
Yeah.
So like one of the main things about this movie, right, is I don't know, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Okay, so the plot of this movie is that the main character, this is like in the 1800s, I think, in England, in a
Mm-hmm.
country village, sees a shooting star while he's on a date with a girl that he really likes that doesn't truly care for him that much. She is interested in someone else. And he's trying to tell her how much he loves her, and he says, "I love you so much that if you would marry me, I would go and grab that fallen star and bring it back." And so she says, "Okay, it's a week until my birthday. You have a week to go get that star and come back." So the movie is about getting the star back,
Mm-hmm.
and he discovers that there's this wall that the village is known for that you can't get past because there's a guard there. And he discovers there's an entire different dimension past that wall.
Hmm.
And he starts talking to his father about, because he tried to get through the wall and the 90-year-old man beat his ass, not letting him through. He's talking to his father about it, and his father's like, "I've actually been past that wall once, and that's where I met your mother." And so starts telling him about some of the stuff that's over there, and then he gives him a candle from his mom that says, "Light this and think of me," and stuff like that, and you'll go where it is. And so he lights it, and he thinks of the star, teleports directly to the star
Hmm.
in that dimension, which happens to be a beautiful woman. But in the book, that candle doesn't exist.
Huh.
So he has to trek through the country to get to where the star was, and it takes a while for the story to start.
Okay.
hmm And I was reading through all this, and the reason I stopped is because I was a third of the way through the book, and he had yet to meet the star, and that happens in like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Huh.
Where it just felt slow paced, and that may have been the thing that they were going for. But the movie's much faster paced. He meets the star, and he starts trying to bring her back, and it's a traditional romantic comedy. Two people slowly fall in love uh, while fantastical events happen. And I just enjoy the movie. The book just didn't tickle that itch for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because I know we had talked about in one of our earlier podcasts, adaptations, but that's an adaptation that the movie is superior to me.
Yeah.
Although I will say the adaptation for Jurassic Park is great. I like the book and the movie for that one.
Yeah, even though, because I've read the books on both of those and I've watched the movies countless times, although they didn't
Yeah.
make the list.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them a lot, but they're not a movie that I can just watch anytime, like and just rewatch.
Right.
Like, but like even though they were completely separate, they're both good in their own right.
Hmm. But yeah, another movie I have on mine, which uh, is a big part of just my personality, is Princess Mononoke, one of the Studio Ghibli films.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw that when I was, I don't know, 11 or 12,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me a good while to realize it made me fall in love with Japanese culture. But that movie was what got me started, you know. Because I was a big fan of that movie even when we were in high school.
I think Dragon Ball Z
But
got me into that.
but it wasn't really until after I graduated from college that I actually discovered how much I really liked Japan and its culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I just had it like as a passing thing, like I'd watch anime, but I wasn't like super into it. Excuse me. But that movie was what started my love for Japanese culture. I just like that aesthetic, that time period in Japan. And so that's a movie that I think I've talked about it before on the podcast, that I can watch it in either language, English or Japanese. Um, but it's a movie that I can always watch.
Yeah.
And I like I don't know. Like some people are like, yeah, it's an alright movie, but for me, like that's one of my masterpiece movies. Like I'll watch it again and again and again, and it will give me chills every time.
I only
And
have
then I kind of
one. I
mentioned,
only have the
yeah.
one left. So
Go ahead, we'll do that one, and then I have one more.
okay. So the last one for me, and this one, like I said, goes with Twister. With the, it doesn't really like I have to be in a specific mood to watch this one, but when I do watch it, I kind of always, even though like most of the story is fake, like it
Hmm.
just kind of gives me a motivation. And it's a newer movie called Here Comes the Boom.
Oh yeah, I couldn't get into it. I tried.
Like I don't know what it is, but I guess it's just like I guess it kind of makes it seem realistic, like you starts out the movie and he's late to work because he oversleeps, and it's obvious that he oversleeps a lot because he just
Hmm.
really doesn't enjoy his job anymore, and he goes to school as he's a teacher, and he comes in late, and the principal's like, well, I'm going to dock you a vacation day. He's like, and you got bus duty. And the boss is just being a pain in the butt, And then he finds out that a buddy of his is going to lose his job, and not even thinking, he's like, well, we'll raise the money. And then, like, nobody wants to help him, And then it's kind of like, he makes some friends and he regains his, like, his drive, his motivation to be a good teacher. And
Mm.
like to me, like even though like the story is kind of unrealistic for like real life, I kind of wish that like sometimes I wish that would be my life, because there are days, like most days I'm good. I wake up, I'm like ready to get the day started. I'm ready to go to work. But there are some days where I'm just like dragging behind, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, I've got to go to work and do the same bullshit again today that I've done
Hmm.
every day. And it's just like sometimes it's just so mentally draining, and you're just like, man, I'm just so tired. I just want to go in late. But you can't go in late because you're going to get in trouble and, stuff like that. So, like, it's relatable on that standpoint. And then just kind of like the way he goes throughout the movie, and then he starts fighting people, and like it's not like, I don't know, I just excuse me, like even I never get tired of like watching it, especially if I'm in a good mood. Like if I'm in the mood to watch it, or if I'm feeling down, like that movie will kind of pick me up. I've
Hmm.
seen it. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it.
Yeah, like it sounds like like I talked about it a little bit earlier on this particular podcast. Tucker and Dale. That's my go-to movie for
Uh-huh.
when I'm feeling kind of like down. That sounds like your go-to movie.
Hmm.
Um, where like I I don't know. I guess you're talking about relatability. I guess my relatability from um Tucker and Dale is being judged before people know me.
Hmm.
You know. Uh, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like people automatically have an idea about who you are
Yeah.
based on the first interaction, and humans are not that shallow.
Well, see,
Humans have much more to them than that.
what's crazy is like I fall victim to this all the time. Like I'm a quiet person in real life. Like I talk a lot with you and I talk on the podcast because I know you and I'm comfortable with you. And like when we do the podcast, I don't think about who might be listening or who is listening. Like I try not to think about that. It's just me
Hmm.
here in the moment with you. But like I'm a real quiet person. I don't talk a lot at work. Like I speak when spoken to. I don't like assert authority unless I have to. Now if I have to or my job demands that I do, I can. But like I'm not gonna like that's outside of my comfort zone. You know, I'm a pretty shy person, and so a lot of people that tend to like me. You know, I have a couple of coworkers, and me and Wraith have talked about this off stream before. Like, I have a couple of coworkers that are just like, quote unquote, like they think that they like are in love with me. Of course, they're both older, and they're both like one of them's in a relation. They're both in relationships, but they're like, "Oh, you're just the sweetest guy. Oh, you're just amazing." And I'm like, "Well, you don't really know me. How can you make a judgment on that?" Right?
Hmm.
And then there are other people that are like, "Oh, well, he's just quiet and he's smart." Okay, well, that's okay. That's what you see, but that's not who I am. Like, there's a
Hmm.
lot of stuff in behind that. But like the people that I work with, especially a lot of the like lower ranking people that I work with, like that's all they think about. Like they live off first impressions.
Mm.
They live off of what they see. They don't try to get to know anyone. And like you said, people make they just come in and they just like make an assumption, and that's what they roll with. But
Yeah.
that's not
Well,
who you are.
that's why there's some movies that do get me irritated because like they they treat people as if they are shallow. There are only a couple different traits about them,
Hmm.
whereas people are one of the most complex things on the planet.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we take it for granted every day, just our physiology, right? Because we're like, no, that's how we work. But really, the way we work, the way our brains work, the way our organs work is complicated and amazing. And humans keep that all the way down to the psychological level. Like you don't just have one specific trait. You have hundreds or thousands that interweave to make you the specific person that you are. There is no one else like you.
Right.
Um, let's bring this up a little bit rather than being quite so depressing in our views on society.
Yeah, I know, right?
The movie I'm going to finish with, I mentioned early in the podcast a little bit, is Galaxy Quest.
Hmm.
Galaxy Quest is one of those movies that it didn't do terribly well when it came out. Everyone thought it was going to be a hit, but it didn't. But now it has like a very large cult following with specific conventions for that movie.
Hmm.
And that's because the movie has this feel to it. One of those movies that you can tell that the people who worked on it loved working on it. They didn't go to work and go, man, this is what I'm doing for a living. They were going to work like, dude, I'm working towards this thing it is great, that all of us feel passionate about, and you can feel that when you watch the movie.
Hmm.
All of the actors are very good. The story is good. It's a fun movie. It's a sci-fi movie, and it's kind of like a Star Trek, not necessarily spoof. It's more like a love letter to Star Trek.
Hmm.
Um, but when you watch it, it makes you think, it makes you feel things, and it's a movie that I can literally watch again and again. It's one of those movies that like I could watch, and then literally 5 seconds later I'll turn on the commentary for like the director commentary, and I'll rewatch the movie again with the director, talking over it. There's
Mhm.
some movies that you can do that, some that you can't, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that was one of those that I could do that. I could sit there, watch the movie, watch a director's commentary, and then watch a documentary that's on Amazon Prime all about the making of that movie, which is really good. And I just have a good time,
Mhm.
and that should be the focus, of entertainment in general. My mother and I were speaking about books this past week, and the prevalence of books that are downright depressing, that you read and you feel heartbroken when it's done. And that's not fun. That's not why I read, right? I don't read to
Right.
get heartbroken. I get that enough. I
I know how that
read
feels.
I read to enjoy myself. I read to go to new fantastic places.
Mhm.
Entertainment is supposed to be something that makes your life better.
Right.
And if you don't enjoy either a form of entertainment or a particular thing, just don't watch it. Don't read it.
Yeah. That's
I
true.
mean, there's a lot of things that I'll start into, like light novels and stuff. I'll read the first two chapters and just go nah, and chuck it to
Nah.
the side
Yeah. I've had
because
that.
because I can tell by the tone and the way that the story's been told that it's not going to be to my liking. So I'm not going to sit there and read the whole book.
Right. Well, I guess we'll start wrapping it up if you're done kind of talking about your list.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I'm good.
I made a small list of honorable mentions about 15 or 20 minutes ago. It's
Okay.
only three. I'm not gonna actually talk about the movies themselves. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna give just like a little small summary of all of them. These are movies like I don't watch them all the time. They're movies that I like watch whenever I need a good laugh. Like,
Hmm.
there's nothing, there's no like real substance to them because there's no real story, quote unquote. Although they do have stories, like the story's not important. You watch it for the humor.
Okay.
Um, and the three of them are Blades of Glory,
Hmm.
A Million Ways to Die in the West,
Hmm.
and Dodgeball.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how many times I watch those movies, that they're funny. They're funny every time, and I have a good time watching them. But they're not something I would choose to watch in my leisure time. Like they didn't make the I can watch this movie over and over and over and over and over again. You know, they're the movies like I watch when I need a good laugh, and then I might not watch it again for a month or two because I don't always need
Hmm.
a good laugh. I'm not always in a bad mood, contrary to
Hmm.
popular belief. You know, I just have a resting bitch face. Like when my face is resting, it looks like I'm mad at the world. And I'm not really mad at the world. That's just how my face sits. Like I've seen so many pictures, on YouTube and well, not pictures on YouTube, videos on YouTube and pictures on, Instagram and Reddit and stuff like that. And they're like, you know, I don't know why people think I'm mad all the time. This is my face. And then like their face will just be all like it looks like they're mad. They're like, this is just how my face is, and I'm like, that's me.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny.
Like,
I saw a video the other day of Grumpy Cat, right?
I can't say that I do.
Grumpy Cat, the meme.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that is a particular species of cat,
Mhm.
and so they look like they're always mad or having a bad time. And I saw a video the other day where you saw one with that resting bitch face being the most affectionate little cat you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it just had this disconnect. It's like it doesn't look like he's having a good time, but you can tell the cat's enjoying himself.
Right.
And that's physiology does not exactly show exactly what you're feeling. You know, that's the same way that people who smile all the time aren't always happy.
I've often thought about getting a set of shirts made that says like that say I'm not actually mad. You can talk to me. Because like sometimes I'll tell somebody, I'll be like, man, I don't understand, like nobody wants to talk to me today. And they look at me and they're like, it's because you look like you're about to just strangle everyone. And I'm like, what? He's like, you've looked mad all day.
Yeah, mad you guys aren't talking to me.
Like, I haven't been mad all day. What are you talking about? I was mad the other day when people were trying to talk to me. Maybe I just need to, like, be mad, and then my face will be different, and they'll be like, oh, hi, how are you? And I'll be like, I'm actually mad now. Fuck off. You know? But then whenever I'm just like, I wish people would talk to me, they're all just like, oh, I guess I'm not going to talk to him today. He's pissed off. I'm like, no,
they think your lonely face is a mad face.
Please talk to me. I'm lonely. No, but the thing about it is like at work, like there are certain people that I can talk to, you know, like if they're there and like, well, I work with the same coworkers pretty much every day. They're minus a few because some of them work overtime, some of them don't work, you know, and like so it is nice to have people that you can talk to. But not necessarily like you can't discuss everything with them, but it's nice to be able to just kind of have a chit chat with somebody from time to time. All right, well, I think that kind of wraps up the Culmination of Randomness podcast for this week.
We wrap it up with randomness. That's how we do. Thank you for joining us. You know, this is now Monday morning instead of Sunday morning.
Right.
But thank you for joining us. We'll be doing this again next week. I'm not sure if we'll be doing it on Monday or
we're
Tuesday.
looking. No, next week it should be back to Sunday.
Back to Sunday. Okay.
Depending on my overtime schedule, I should be off this coming weekend, so it'll be back to Sunday. Normal time between 8 and 8:15 is when we'll go live. Then, like I said, the following week I will work that Sunday, so then it'll move to Monday. But I should be off unless overtime happens. If overtime does happen, we may need to do it on a Saturday.
Okay.
But like I said, I will keep you informed, and we'll keep our stream informed, our followers, if they pay attention.
I'll put it on Twitter if you look at I actually don't have a Twitter in my bio. I need to put that in there.
I have Twitter in my bio, but I don't post to it. So, what are we, opposites?
Yeah. So check Shadow's Twitter. You'll know when we go live.
I'll also check his Twitter. Check both our Twitters. Yeah. Follow our Twitters.
So, thanks. This has been the Culmination Podcast. Hopefully you'll join us again next week. And hopefully you had a great time. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of the stream. We'll catch you guys on the next one.